Teak, I do think, though, that it's going to sound odd. I'm probably going to get some hate on this, a little haterade. Serve it up. I think that when Steph's career is over, I think that he is going to be unfairly or unnecessarily, unjustly, even though it's kind of the same as unfairly, but unjustly, better way to frame it, unjustly elevated to a spot on the all-time list that he doesn't necessarily deserve.
It's interesting because I thought you were going to say it was going to be the other way.
No.
He was going to be unjustly or unfairly lowered on the list of the all-timers because of who he is, like in his size and he's just not. I don't know. He doesn't feel like he's that dominant player. But the reality is he is a dominant player, and he has been at least for the last 6 or 7 years. And I think it's harder to put him on a list than it is to talk about what we already know his legacy is going to be, and that is he changed the game in a sense, right? He changed it so that we care about how many three-pointers you attempt and make in a game. Whereas before it was like you got one or two guys that can knock them down, and you give them license to shoot. Now it's like, okay, everybody, if you have above 35%,
not even.
Yeah, exactly.
Not even, man.
Some of these teams,
not even close.
Right? Just if it's there, take it.
Yeah.
Right? Even if it's not your shot, take it. And even on the Golden State Warriors, we know this isn't Draymond Green's shot. How many times did we see him early in their their championship seasons, early the first 2 or 3? Do we see him standing there? Nobody's talking. Go ahead, Draymond, take that.
Dude, he shot so many knuckleballs. He should be a pitcher.
I'm telling you. But he would take them. Right? Because that was the philosophy that Steph helped initiate into the NBA. And the NBA forever has changed because we look at any game on any given night, and even meaningful ones, we still see this. Like, we see that impact. And I think that ultimately will be his legacy, whether or not people view him as a top 15 or 20 player of all time or not.
Well, I mean, listen, there are certain players that just leave an indelible mark on whatever game it is. And, Tiger Woods, it's funny, they were talking about this over the weekend during the Masters coverage on CBS, where Tiger Woods back in the 90s at one point at Augusta averaged 322 yards off the tee. Wow. That was, I mean, we're talking 20-plus years ago.
Yeah.
And you compare it now, that's still pretty damn good. And it was different equipment and a little bit of a different ball, too. So you look at the explosion, but also the style. And not to mention the race implication, the race elevation for the sport, the awareness. Although the numbers haven't really gone in a direction I kind of hoped that they would and thought that they would. When he started to play in the late 90s, I thought at this point we'd have more minorities on tour.
Yeah.
We don't, but that's not Tiger's fault. He can only do what he can do.
It's still an affluent sport. There's no way to get around
No way around it. Even with the first tee programs, there's no doubt. There's no way around it. And there's some nice grassroots initiatives for sure. But Tiger had the style and the explosion, right? Jordan. We all did. To this day, I wear baggy shorts. Even if I'm in the yard doing yard work with my flip-flops, every pair of shorts I have is baggy, right? The sweet sneakers, the wristband, like the gait up and down the court. Kobe walked the same way. There's the way Griffey would style out of the box when he hit a bomb. A lot of guys do that. A lot of guys first they got it from Reggie, and then, of course, they modernized that and got that from Griffey. What we will have forever with Steph Curry is that, and I've said this a few times, the moment a little kid walks into a gym, he's not hitting a layup, he's not dribbling, he's launching one from 30, and he's yelling Curry as he flings it from his hip. Curry, right. And probably draws air. That's number one. Number two, and I noticed it again last night. We've seen it his whole career, but what I don't know that he gets credit for, we all talk about his ability to hit threes and from deep, but the way he frees himself up on some of these threes, whether it's a little subtle like in, out, or an up fake or quick, like there's like two guys on him, and he does one little wiggle, boom, he's free.
Yeah, and
it's amazing.
The other thing also is he is great around the rim.
He is. He is,
because we don't see him there very often, but when he gets there, he's complete. We talk about Kyrie all the time, how Kyrie just, once he gets airborne around the rim, it's touching glass somewhere.
Yes.
Even if it's like the bottom edge of the backboard, and it's somehow going to flip into the hoop.
Yeah.
Steph Curry's the same way.
Very similar.
Right? He just doesn't do it as often. We don't see it as often, but he's got an unbelievable game. But I think what he does, and if I was like if I loved basketball, like I loved football when I was younger, and say I was that young person now, and I watched Steph Curry, he would make me feel like I could play in the NBA.
No question.
Because look, I could jump, but I couldn't dunk, right? And so, how many times we see Steph Curry dunk?
We saw him dunk in the All-Star game.
Yeah, but we don't really see him
not
dunk.
much. Not
and
much.
so
Not
it's
much.
like,
Not much.
All right, I can be a super athlete. I can have like this nimble, like athleticism and move and groove, and as long as I can shoot 3-pointers, I can play. And so I think he's inspiring in a different sense of the word. Not like Jordan was, where everybody wanted to lower their rims and sky and do all that other stuff. But like, I can actually be like him.
Yeah.
And we see some guys try to. Trae Young.
Yep.
They're just not as good as knocking down the 3-pointers.
That's true. I think, he is amazing. There's no way he's amazing. I saw another stat today where at age 32, he's got 3 50-point games this season.
Yeah.
The most of anybody age 32. I want to say MJ had 2. I thought he might have a little bit more. MJ had 2.
That's surprising.
Yeah,
It's a different game, though. I mean, at 32, Jordan was old.
Well, he was also, most of it was at the rim too.
Yeah.
He did a few threes.
True, it's a good
but
point.
the wear and tear on the body,
That's a great point.
And back then he was getting hammered by Oakley and all those tough teams, the Pacers. They had the Davis boys then. So I mean, he was getting the snot knocked out of him when he went to the rim, even though he kept going. And Bernard King was on that list not from the Knicks, from the Washington Bullets in 1990-91. I was a little surprised. I knew he made an All-Star team there. Didn't quite realize he did that. I want to say Wilt was maybe on that list. It was rarefied air. So let me ask you, because we've talked about Curry for a long time here, Teak. Before we get the update, let me hit you with this. Give me your best guess, which I've already constructed my list. Where do you think I have? Granted, he's got the ability for upward mobility.
Yes.
He can move up. He's not going to move down. He's not going to get lower than this. Where do you think I have him right now on my all-time list in the NBA? Knowing how I make sure I respect history.
Yeah, I'm going to say 14.
No. Can I give you the list real quick? I won't even expand. I'll just give you the list. Ready?
Run through.
All right, 1 through 5. MJ, Kareem, LeBron, Russell, Bird. My top 5 right there. I got Magic 6. I got Wilt 7. Oscar 8. Tim Duncan 9. Hakeem 10.
Yep, you always love Tim Duncan.
Oh, and Hakeem. Always give those guys love.
Yep.
Kevin Durant's number 11 for me.
Okay.
The great Kobe's 12. I got Shaq 13. Elgin 14. May he rest in peace and just left us.
Passed away, yeah.
The great Dr. J, who did a lot of it in the ABA, but too often gets overlooked. Dr. J.
He does always get overlooked.
That's why I make sure
everybody
that
knows him and loves him and reveres him, but they forget to put him on the list.
I know. And that's why I make sure I don't.
Yeah.
So he's number 15. 16, I've got Jerry West. 17, I've got Moses. 2 MVPs, championships as well, Moses.
Yep.
Isaiah Thomas, number 18 for me. I've got Kevin Garnett, number 19.
Really?
And I've got Steph Curry, number 20.
Wow.
Right now.
You just fit him in.
Number 20.
Just fit him in.
Number 20.
All right.